Welcome. In this instructional video, I'm going to show you how to assemble a frame. Now, buying unassembled equipment is a really nice way to save a little bit of money as you're getting ready to do beekeeping and starting on your career, but it's also something that's really necessary as you get further along in your beekeeping because you're going to go through a lot of frames. And so let's show you a quick and easy way to assemble frames. I'm going to show you two different ways to do it, one frame by frame and one using a 10-frame jig. So you'll get to see kind of both ways that we approach assembling frames.
So here are our components that we need to put together our frame. Now we're going to be doing a frame with plastic foundation. This is my preferred foundation. This is wax-coated plastic foundation. Works really well, super durable, lasts a long time, and very easy to mount into frames. Now you can buy wax foundation as well. The only difference though, if you're going to be purchasing wax foundation that you need to be aware of, is that the top bar that you purchase is going to be called a wedged top bar. This is a grooved top bar, which is the type of top bar that we use for plastic foundation. So just make sure that you know what you're purchasing when you purchase the frames. But essentially, the frames are made up of 5 components. You have the top bar, the bottom bar, the side bars, and the foundation. Now, the things that you're going to need to put these together, there's 2 different ways you can put frames together. If you're just getting started and maybe only have a couple dozen frames to put together, you can use a hammer and nail, just like just kind of like they used to do a long time ago before pneumatic equipment. We use just a hammer and nail. And essentially, if you're going to do that, you can usually purchase nails from the manufacturers, or generally what they use is 3D or 4D nails. So that's 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches nail is what you would use if you're going to assemble this with hammer and nail. Now, if you're going to assemble any number of frames, you probably don't want to use a hammer and nail. And if you're in that route, you're likely going to want to use pneumatic equipment. And that's what I have over here. We use a 1.5 inch stapler for our pneumatic equipment for our frames, and those are with galvanized staples. And so this becomes a very, very secure frame with those 1.5 inch nails. In addition, we're going to glue this up as well. It's important that you glue up your frames to make sure that they stay sturdy and usable for a long time. I like Tight Bond 3. It's a waterproof glue, works excellent, and has a very long life in these environments inside of a hive. You're also going to want to have a pair of wire cutters around with you. That's just, especially when you're using the pneumatic equipment, a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes you'll get a stray staple that'll come out of the side, kind of worked over maybe by a knot or something in the wood, and you just want to have a pair of wire snips that you can snip that off with so that it's not hanging out there stabbing you when you're going through your equipment. So that's what you need as far as the equipment is concerned. Let's show you how to put frames together using 2 different methods. And I'm going to use, the first method is just going to be using 1 frame at a time. Now the second method is going to be using a 10-frame jig. So that's for efficiency purposes. If you start beekeeping more and need more frames, you're going to need to increase efficiencies rather than doing just 1 frame at a time. But I'm going to show you both ways to do it here with hammer and nail and with the pneumatic equipment. All right, so let's do the hammer and nail approach here. Now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to glue up your sidebars. You're going to want to glue both the top and the bottom grooves on that sidebar. So let's get our glue here. A nice bead in each side of there. Nice bead on the back side as well. And we're going to start by just putting the outside of the frame together. Foundation does not go in first. We have to get the frame together first. So first you're going to just glue it up. Pretty darn easy. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to start nailing it together. I like to start from the top, and that's just my own personal preference. But whatever you feel you want to do, go ahead and do. So we're going to position our nails, start it in there. There's 1. There's 2. Now we're going to go to the bottom. And make sure it's all nice and glued up. One side. There's our other side.
And now the last piece that we need to do is the most important part of all of this, which is we're going to put a side nail in. And essentially what we want to try and do is we want to try and position this nail so that it goes through the sidebar and into the top bar. And that's a really important place to have that. And one place that I see a lot of people miss. But when you think about it, when you have a hive tool and you're prying on this end of this frame, this is a weak point. And if you just have a nail going down, it's going to pull out over time. So you got to have a side nail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position my side nail right here. Started there. This is the hardest part of this whole thing, is getting this side nail to go in nicely. This is why I don't use hammer and nail. There we go. Okay, so we got that one in. Let's get the next one in. That one went in much easier. But you can see that there is a nail right here that's going through that sidebar into the top bar. Now the last part of assembling this is putting in the foundation, and that's pretty darn easy. We literally just pop it into the top bar, and you always want to start with the top bar first because the bottom bar has more flex to it. It's a thinner piece of wood, and so you can literally just push with your thumbs that piece of foundation right in there, and there's your assembled frame. Now, that was one frame with a hammer and nail. Let's see how fast this goes when we use a pneumatic stapler. Okay, so let's now try our pneumatic stapler. Now we're going to basically do the same thing as far as assembly is concerned. There's no difference there. It's basically just how you're fastening this all together with either a hammer or nail or a staple. All right, so we glue up our two pieces here. Again, starting from the top. Mount those two in there. Add our bottom right here. All right, so now we're ready to staple. Start here. That side piece again, very important. And there, our frame is already together. Last piece, our foundation to put in. Bingo, we're done. How much faster was that? The efficiencies in using pneumatic equipment to assemble any kind of beekeeping equipment are incredible. So if you plan on doing beekeeping for any period of time, pneumatic equipment is the way to go. It will save you so much time and money. All right, so now we've seen the two ways that we assemble frames. I'm going to show you one last thing, and that's how to use a frame jig to assemble 10 of these at a time so you can really increase that efficiency. All right, so this is a frame jig. Now, frame jigs come in all sorts of shapes, sizes, and flavors. This is one I purchased several years ago. Previous to this, I was using one that I built on my own. So you can build this very easily on your own. And essentially the principles behind this is that you're able to put in 10 frames at one time and assemble them all at once. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. First, we're going to start with our sidebars. And we put our sidebars in these sides over here. And you just line them up. Now, once you have your sidebars in, you're going to lock those sidebars into place. And so in this particular unit, you have this wheel here that you turn, and now those sidebars are locked in place. They're not going to go anywhere. Next step, we're going to glue it up. So we just go through, we put a spot of glue in each one of these joints, just like we did when we assemble single frames. Now this is a great activity to do in the off season. You don't want to be doing this in the on season. It's March here right now, so we're getting
kind of close to starting in beekeeping season. It's a great time to be doing this type of work. Got your top bars here now that we're all glued up, and we're going to go ahead and pop those in. Sometimes they're a little tight. Usually you can get all this in by hand. There's usually not the need to use a hammer on most of this. Sometimes those joints can be a little tight though. So you always want to just make sure you got a hammer handy in case you need it. All right, so we got all of our top bars in now. Now, it's time for the stapler. All right, we got those tops done. Now we flip over the whole unit, and now we get to do the back. Again, we start with glue. Glue all those little areas there. Glue's a little cold today. It's about 32 degrees outside right now. So I had to warm up the glue before we got going here, just so it flows for us. All right, our bottom bars now. All right, back to our stapler. All right, so we got all our nails in now. Now we're going to head and rotate that wheel back, and all of these frames are going to drop right out. This is an old jig. Sometimes there's a little excess glue on there, making that a little tight to come out, but there all your frames come out. These two boards is what was holding everything in place with that tension from the wheel. We take those out. Now we've got all of our frames. Now it's time just to do the sidebars. Remember, that's a very important piece there. So we go through. Just going to do this real quick. Got a second nail came out on that one. We'll have to go back and clean that one up. You always want to make sure quality control, job number one. If you get any stray staples, things that pop out, it is pneumatic equipment. You just need to trim it off with that little wire cutter we have. It does happen every so often. Now the last piece of this is just popping that foundation, which you saw how easy that was earlier, so we won't go over that again. But, just to give you an idea, look at how quick those 10 frames went together. So again, pneumatic equipment, if you're planning on doing any number of frames, if it's more than 20 or 30, it may be the way to go for you. It's a little investment. These pneumatic staplers don't cost very much, especially if you already have an air compressor, but it will save you a ton of time and money. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll look forward to seeing you at the next one.